may be seated. Call your first.
At this point in time, people are calling to stand for a lot of power.
The court is going to indicate for the record that any and all witnesses are to be sequestered, and that the court will notice the objection to the officer in charge. Any, Mr. Thomas?
Judge, I don't have any witnesses in the courtroom.
Okay, very good. Madam, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear affirm testimony about to give this matter the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes. Please be seated.
Could you please tell the jury your name?
Twana Powell.
Pull that microphone closer.
Okay.
And how are you employed?
I am a first lieutenant with the Michigan Department of State Police.
And that was a recent development, was it not?
Yes.
All right. When were you promoted to lieutenant?
I was offered a promotion in September.
This year?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Thank you. September 2015, and accepted the promotion, and it took effect beginning of October.
Wait a minute. Madam, stop. Did I swear you?
Yes, you did.
Stand up.
Okay.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear affirm testimony about to give this matter the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please be seated.
Everything you said so far the truth?
Yes.
Everything you said was true?
Yes.
You got a promotion?
Yes,
Really, a
ma'am.
first lieutenant?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
How long have you been a police officer?
Over 22 years now.
And just give us a brief description of your background as a police officer.
I entered the department, the Michigan State Police Academy, in June of 1993. From there, I was sent to the Jackson Post, where I worked patrols and served there for a little over a year. I took a voluntary transfer to the Detroit Post, where I worked patrols for approximately 3 years. I accepted a temporary staff assignment to the Michigan State Police Training Academy to instruct troopers of the 115th Trooper Recruit School in the area of patrols. After leaving there, I came back to the Detroit Post, and I was assigned to a multi-jurisdictional task force within the Detroit Police Department that combated violent crimes and carjacking. I served there for just over 2 years. After leaving there, I was promoted to a detective sergeant. That was in January of 2000. I served as a detective sergeant for the 2nd District here in the metropolitan Detroit area, where I investigated all manner of crime, anything from larceny to serial rape, serial murder. Also, during that time, as a detective sergeant for those 16 years, I was assigned to a homicide task force with the Detroit Police Department. I was assigned to the Southeastern Michigan Crimes Against Children's Task Force. It's a federally funded task force. I did that from 2008 till 2011. In 2011, I accepted another task force assignment with the Federal Bureau of Investigators, Eastern District Public Corruption Task Force, where I served there for over 2 years. Then I left there and went back to the SimCAT Task Force, the Crimes Against Children's Task Force, and continued my service in investigating public corruptions and major cases. Then and that's when I was promoted recently to the First Lieutenant Commander spot. I'm in charge of the Professional Standards Section for the Michigan State Police, which is commonly known as Internal Affairs.
Yeah, what's your connection with this case?
I was assigned as the officer in charge of this investigation.
And tell the jury what that means. What's an officer in charge?
Officer in charge, you're responsible for all aspects of the investigation. You get assigned the investigation. Everything that needs to be done, you need to identify it and make sure it's done.
Were you assigned this case on January 28th of this year when these events took place?
No.
When were you assigned?
March the 23rd.
Of this year?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
And describe how it was you ended up being assigned.
Well, I'm not sure of the context because it's above, that was above.
Foundation.
I mean.
Okay, I was assigned, I was contacted by my commanding officer, and informed to make contact with the chief of Inkster Police because there was an investigation they wanted us to conduct.
And who was the chief at that point in time?
Vicky Yosh.
And did that delay hamper you in any way in conducting your investigation?
Well, yes.
How did it hamper you?
Well, when you're contacted immediately, there is a possibility of obtaining more evidence, videos, opposite the police patrol vehicles, information, witnesses, possible witnesses. So the earlier you get it, the better.
Is there a process that takes place in investigations into police misconduct in terms of your investigation and who the warrants get presented to in Wayne County?
Yes.
What is that process?
Objection. The warrant's irrelevant, Judge. We're charged.
Overruled, go ahead.
When I get a complaint of allegations of public corruption, in a sense, excessive force, what I do is I present that to the Wayne County Prosecutor's Public Integrity Unit. It can't go to the regular prosecutors. It has to go directly to the Public Integrity Unit, so they'll have knowledge of it.
And back when you were assigned the case, who was in charge of the Public Integrity Unit in our office?
You were.
And did you? When were you first aware that there was an allegation that Officer Melendez engaged in misconduct?
March the 23rd.
What did you do when you were assigned the case?
I was instructed to make contact with Vicky Yosh. I made contact with her at the Inkster Police Department, sat down with her, had a brief observation of a video clip from a news outlet, a media outlet, and at that point in time I requested any and all documents, videos, recordings, anything that had been collected and related to the case, opposite any internal documents that contained Garrity statements from the defendant.
Okay. And did you obtain those items from the Inkster Police Department?
Yes.
What sort of items did you
Wait a
get?
minute, can you tell the judges of the fact what a Garrity statement is?
Okay, Garrity is it's an order by a commander of a police department that orders the officer to give a statement. That Garrity statement, because it's ordered, it is not voluntary, it cannot be involved in a criminal investigation because it's a direct conflict with your constitutional rights to remain silent. So if you're read Garrity, I can't have contact with a document that's forced statement from a suspect or a defendant, which is an officer, because he was forced to give that statement. And he, under the constitutional right for a criminal investigation, you have a right to remain silent. You don't have to give a statement.
It's a compelled statement by the boss, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you obtain from the Inkster Police Department?
I gathered the police reports authored by Officer Melendez and any other officers who responded to the scene. I gathered use of force reports. I gathered video footage from patrol vehicles. Okay. Use of force report. Any officer, most commonly, an officer who has to use any type of force to make an arrest on a person, whether it's use the CS spray, the mace.
Okay. Just tell us what we know.
Okay, I will. The mace, whether it's a taser, whether they have to punch or strike, use any kind of defensive control tactics to effect an arrest.
They got to write it up.
It has to be documented on a report.
Separate from the incident report.
Most police departments at Inkster did require that. It has to be a separate report that documents the officers who had to use, it has to list the officers who used force and the type of force they used.
Go ahead.
Did you learn after you were assigned the case that Floyd Dent had been charged?
Yes.
And did you learn that testimony had been taken in that proceeding?
Yes.
Did you obtain that as well?
Yes, I did.
Let me interrupt. Testimony taken by whom?
It was at the district court in Inkster District Court. The court reporter the lady like this, that when the preliminary exam is going on, she's documenting everything that's being said. So it was a transcript of all of that documentation, all of that testimony. And so I obtained a copy of that.
In this case, had contemporaneous warrant requests been presented to the Public Integrity Unit, both for Mr. Dent and for Mr. Melendez?
No, just for Mr. Melendez. I'm sorry, Mr. Dent.
And that was presented to the Public Integrity Unit or somebody else?
No, just the regular prosecutors.
Right. So they didn't even bring it to us?
Objection.
What?
He's leading her, and he's commenting on her statement.
Mr. Dent was charged, correct?
Correct.
And those charges were ultimately dismissed, correct?
Yes.
Is it a problem when there is an allegation of wrongdoing by a police officer to only review half of it, only the half as it relates to the arrestee?
Oh, yes.
What sort of problem does that create?
Well, it's not getting a true picture of the entire incident.
Was there any statements from Mr. Dent anywhere in the materials that Inkster had?
No, not that I obtained.
So basically what happened was what you said with the prosecution, that one warrant went for Mr. Dent
Yes.
for what he was alleged to have done,
Right.
and one request went to Public Integrity.
No.
Oh, it did?
It didn't. That step didn't occur. The
Okay.
only step that occurred was there was an investigator's report put together requesting a warrant
For Mr.
for
Dent.
Mr. Dent.
And who is, for the record?
Floyd Dent is the person that was allegedly beaten by Officer Melendez.
Okay, go ahead.
Did you also obtain the radio traffic that surrounded this stop?
Yes.
Did you also ask for any other videos that depicted Mr. Dent?
Yes.
And what videos were those?
Booking room, when inside of the station, any other officers responding units, not just Mr. Melendez, but any responding units that responded on the scene to see if they had video and audio inside of the station during the booking process and inside of the vehicle when he was transported to the police department.
Did you learn at some point in your investigation that there were other police agencies involved in this?
Yes.
Who else was involved in this?
There were several Michigan State troopers who responded, 3 patrol cars, 6 officers, and there was also identified to be a Dearborn Heights sergeant, a lone individual driving one vehicle by himself.
How did you learn that there was somebody from Dearborn Heights there?
That was through interviews because it wasn't clear in the video.
There's no police report, nothing like that.
Exactly.
Did you learn that there was a camera at the old police station?
Yes.
Did you make efforts to determine whether or not that camera was operable?
Yes.
Was it?
No.
Did you make efforts to learn whether or not there was any additional video from other locations other than the police videos that we've talked about?
Yes.
And what efforts did you make?
I did a canvass, and I also requested assistance from other detectives to go to neighboring businesses. I also canvassed to see if, a lot of times in areas, inner city areas, a lot of people will have security cameras affixed to their residence for the purpose of, security. And so I didn't go door to door by any measure, but sometimes you can see them affixed to the outside of their porches and things like that. So I did a canvas, drove down the street to see if I saw any cameras affixed anywhere, and tried to obtain video that way.
Were you successful?
No.
And why was that?
Well, like I said, I didn't notice that any of the residents had cameras affixed to the outside of their homes. But some of the businesses that did have video, there's a time lapse that sometimes they have a window of 14 days, 30 days. It's rare you go past 30 days. And the fact that I was over 60 days of trying to obtain that video was not present and available. And some businesses just didn't have it.
Did you go looking for that early or late when you started this investigation?
No, it was as soon as I got the investigation, because it's time sensitive. You're already behind the 8 ball.
And it was gone.
They were gone.
And when did Inkster again make this request to investigate?
March 23rd.
You know when that was in relationship to the preliminary examination of Mr. Dent?
It was over a month, I think, if I remember correct. I don't have my folder in front of me, so.
Can you get it?
Yes, ma'am.
This one?
Yes.
Oh, excuse me. I'll pull it back after I flip through the binder. I was incorrect. The preliminary exam was held on March the 18th, and I got the report on March the 23rd.
So it was right on the heels of the preliminary examination.
Yes.
Did you interview any witnesses?
Yes.
And in particular, did you interview the witnesses that were present at the scene of the arrest of Mr. Dent?
Yes.
And were those witnesses interviewed under oath at any point in time?
Yes.
And what process was that? What sort of mechanism was it that we got to take testimony under oath?
That was through investigative subpoenas.
Right. And investigative subpoena empowers a prosecutor to ask questions of a witness under oath?
Yes.
Right. And did we do those together?
Yes.
Did we speak to every officer who was identified as being at the scene other than Mr. Melendez?
Yes.
And was Mr. Melendez invited to come and be interviewed?
Objection. Do we, folks?
Yeah. Overrule, go ahead.
Was he invited to come and speak with you?
Yes.
And he declined?
Yes.
Which is his right, correct?
Exactly.
And when you say it's right, his constitutional right, is that correct?
Yes, his constitutional right to remain silent.
Okay, very good. Now, let me ask this question. When you invited him there, did you know that, did he have a lawyer at that point?
Yes, because when it was declined to come, it was through an attorney.
Okay, very good, okay.
Are you sure of that?
Yes, it was via email.
All right. Do you have the email?
I'm sure I may have it in my email system, but I didn't print it out.
It wasn't Mr. Thomas, was it?
No. It was somebody from a union.
Okay. Did you talk to other witnesses about other portions of the investigation besides the officers there at the scene?
Yes,
Did you get medical records?
yes.
Whose medical records?
Floyd Dent's medical records.
From where?
From Garden City Hospital, which is the hospital he was transported to immediately after the incident, and later on he follow-up treatment that was reported to have been had at Henry Ford.
Did you have any physical evidence analyzed?
Yes.
What sort of evidence did you have analyzed?
Well, at the time of the incident, I learned that a search warrant was obtained for Floyd Dent's blood, which was seized and transported to the Michigan State Police Crime Lab. That was analyzed, and also a baggie that was containing the suspected narcotics.
And what did you ask be done with the bag?
I asked for fingerprint analysis.
Now, where were these items taken from?
The blood had already been transported to the Michigan State Police Lab.
Baggies.
The baggie was already at the State Police Lab, and because it was the property transported by Inkster, I couldn't take possession of it and make a request directly from the lab. So I had to meet up with Detective Munson, who is from Inkster Police Department, who is the submitting officer at that time. I met up with him at the State Police Crime Lab Forensic Lab in Northville. He unpackaged and switched things out with gloves, and he then turned that specific baggie over to me. Then I packaged it, turned it over to the lab for the request to do the fingerprint analysis.
Did you ask that anything be done with the video in question?
Yes.
What did you ask be done with the video in question?
I contacted the State Police audio-visual unit and requested that they try to slow down the video or make it so that I can view it frame by frame. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Not to slow it down, but to make it so that I can just frame by frame.
And did they do that for you?
Yes.
Your Honor, it's my intention to seek admission of people proposed exhibit number 1.
Any objection?
No.
You ready?
For convenience sake, just so the record is clear, we have downloaded the video, which is entitled Inkster Police Department ORI MI8249000, and it's entitled Floyd Dent, certified copy number 16, just 1 of 1. It has the logo of the Inkster Police Department on it. And we put it on the computer because it plays better.
Okay.
It's on the computer. And Mr. Thomas has agreed that we could do that.
Yes,
Is that correct?
yes,
Okay,
I
so
did.
how is the jury gonna see it?
We're going to play it on the screen.
Okay, Jerry, did you wanna do the light?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the screen. That.
Both of them will have
I'm
it. It'll
sorry.
be contemporaneous.
Hey, let's do this. I wanna do something right quick. I wanna take a 10-minute break. I want you all to know that, it's my belief that there's a good chance that this is what's been shown in the media. Is that correct?
Portions of it, yes.
Portion of it. It may be somewhat graphic, so let's take a 10-minute recess, and then we're gonna come back and we'll go for a little bit, okay? All right, all right, you wanna step down?
Yes, ma'am.
You good, juror number 9? All right now.
Please be seated. Things about to be tried.
No, this is going to be a... You're right.